and welcome to my YouTube channel. So this morning I thought I'd come out across to a local woodland and kind of a grassy area just to see what I can capture, something different. It's a dewy morning. There was a lot of mist, but the mist has lifted really quick there. So where my idea was to come out for an atmospheric shot, didn't quite work that way. So what we'll do is we'll just walk around the woodland. Let's see if we can get any interesting images. I'll try and experiment with close-ups, shots, wide-angle shots. I'll look for different compositions. But join me and let's see where this journey takes us this morning. Alright, so as I'm walking along, I've spotted, I'm just watching where my feet is because I'm walking over a wee stream. I really want to fall in. So I've spotted a kind of gap where there's been activity down here where they've planted all these little Christmas trees. But at the very end there's two trees. So I thought maybe that gap down to the down to the trees could be used as a leading line, and the two sides of the Christmas trees kind of use that as a leading line down to the trees. But because it's so far away, I'll need to use a longer lens. So what I'll do is I'll set up with a longer lens. I'm conscious of the sun, but there's also a lot of heavy clouds, so I'll get these shots taken first and I'll walk you through what I'm doing. Alright, so I've set up my first composition and I'm using the two rows of the Christmas trees or the pines as a leading line right down to the trees at the bottom. I've kind of lost the light because the sun's went out, but what I'll do is a 3-shot exposure compensation, and then that way I'll get the detail in the clouds, although there's not a lot of detail in the clouds because it's quite soft and diffused. But before the sun comes out over the clouds, there's and here comes the sun again. So I'll get a shot here with the sun out, and then what I'll do is there's spiders' webs with heavy dew on them on these trees. So we'll move over here and hopefully the sun will backlight them and we could get some really nice interesting shots of the webs with the dew on them. Alright, so what I've got here is a couple of spiders' webs with the dew. Let me just turn it around so I've got quite a nice composition. And what I want to do here is I want to try and get as much of the dew shots in focus as I can. It's quite windy, so I might have to speed up. I will do, I'll have to speed up my shutter speed. So if I go up to a 200th of a second and reduce my f-stop to f5.6, I'm just going to refocus into those water drops, take the shot, and that could be quite nice if I just tilt the camera up a wee bit so I've got the cobwebs and the dew centred in my image. That actually could be quite a nice shot. Right, so there's another one here. So the other thing I'm doing when I'm taking these shots of the spiders' webs and the dew is I'm looking around so that whilst the dew is backlit by the sun, I want a darkish background. So I'm intentionally looking through the spider's webs to look for a darker area because that'll exaggerate the dew and the web a lot more prominent in the image. Right, so there's one here. So if I position my camera there, I'll just level it off, just turn it around a bit. I'll focus in. Well, that's nice. So if I zoom in, because what I want to try and do is get the water droplets as pin sharp as possible. The only thing is the wind. So there's a wee breeze. So it's quite hard to focus on the droplets because they're moving. But I'll take a second shot. And that might be quite nice. So there's a lot more that I've spotted. So what I'll do is I'll work my way down a couple of trees and then I'll share those images with you now. Alright, so I've just finished taking shots of all the spiders' webs. So let's keep walking and let's see what more we can find in the woodland. I quite like the symmetry of the way that the trees have been planted because of the rows that it's creating between each of the trees. So I'll keep walking, I'll see if anything spots my eye. There's some magpies on a round tree over here. So I'll see if I can get some shots of them because I've still got the long lens on. Well, the magpies have gone. Bit of some interesting potential images here, so I was going to see if I can zoom in on the berries on the branch of the tree because there's a nice dark background and those berries could be quite nice and vibrant. I'm just focusing in, I'm just going to straighten up my camera. So I'm conscious there's a little breeze, so I'm shooting at 200th of a second shutter speed just so I can freeze any subject that I'm taking, just in case that wee breeze moves them. So because I'm shooting at such a fast shutter speed and the sun's coming in and out, so I've reduced my f-stop to 5.6 and I've still got ISO 100. But the beauty about doing this is the background is blown out, so the background's out of focus and my main subject's in focus. So the other thing I've spotted here is, if I turn my camera into portrait mode, there's a wee kind of gnarly tree stump. Leave the camera because the camera's getting a bit of shake from me as well and it's quite soft ground. So I've got some highlight, so I've got oh, there's the sun coming out. So I'm going to have to increase my f-stop to f8. I'll take that shot. I've still got 200th of a second, f8, oh I've got highlights everywhere. So if I up that to f11, that's better. So I've now got no highlights on the bark. And then what I can do is I can lift the shadows in post-processing. Right, I'll tell you what we'll do is, I've taken shots here. So I've got that wee tree which could actually turn out to be, even though it's not the prettiest subject, the way the composition's set where I've got the old gnarly tree base in the middle and it's surrounded by the ferns, that could be quite a nice image. So I'm going to keep walking and see what else we can see. As I look back, I can see the old railway house. So I'll look for an area where I could probably zoom in and use the trees as kind of foreground and the old railway house in the background. Right, so as I've been walking along, I've spied this acorn tree and there are some acorns still on the leaves. So now what I'll do is try and get closer to the acorns. Now I'm conscious that I need separation here, so I'm trying to isolate the acorns so that they've got some sky in the background. Let me just check this for focus. That's nice. Right, so I've got the acorns in focus. Now what I might have to do is increase the f-stop to f5.6. Again, I'm keeping my fast shutter speed because there is a breeze. And that's quite nice because the sky in the background is white or grey, but I've got a bit of light and sun on the acorns and they're coming up really nice. So I've just spotted 2 or 3 more acorns in different positions. So what I'll do is I'll take images of those acorns and if they turn out, I'll share those images with you now. Well, that's not something you see every day, is the horse. So what we'll do is we'll get out the horse's way and we'll let it... No, you're okay, I'm just getting the most of the peace and quiet. Not very often you get to see this. Well, that was a great wee chance photograph there. We got a nice horse rider just leisurely going past. So I managed to get a shot here on the horse. Hopefully we got some shots with the filming as well. They're just out for a walk, and I was taking shots there of the acorns, but equally I spotted a little snail. So hopefully the shots that I took of the snail have come out and they're quite nice. And then what I did was I turned round because there was like a lone tree. So I took a shot of the lone tree from the position I was standing at. So it's might not be the most exciting subjects, but it's certainly interesting, and from a photography point of view it certainly makes you think and it forces you to keep looking. So I'll keep doing that and let's see where we can get another photograph. So as I've been walking along, I've got it's quite a symmetrical looking image here, where I've got a tree in front of me, but the row of pine trees is forming a line straight towards the centre of the tree. So what I'll do is I'll focus straight on the centre of the tree, and then I've got my composition. So I'm also trying not to get other trees in the frame, which has proven quite difficult, but I can remove them as much as I can, because if I crop in a little bit tighter I can take the edges of the other trees that are coming out. Right, so that could be quite a nice shot. Right, I'm going to keep walking round. It's starting to get really dark, so I'm not sure if it's going to rain. The forecast wasn't for rain, but the clouds are getting darker and darker, so we'll keep walking. Quiet because I spotted a deer, and I followed the deer into the fir trees behind me, but I seem to have lost it now, so I'll keep my eyes open, but no doubt it'll know where I am before I ever see it. So what I've got here is I've got a little fir tree surrounded by two others, and I've got the kind of Sheriff Muir Hills in the background. So I focused in on the middle tree. I'm trying to blow out the foreground. So I've got a f2.8. I've got an 800th of a second shutter speed, because those grasses are blowing really strong. So what I'll do is I'll look for a couple of other compositions with the fir trees, and if there's anything that stands out I'll take a couple of shots and then I'll share those images with you. I'll keep walking. I doubt we're going to see the deer again, but you never know, we might be lucky. Alright, so I've come into a much darker area of the wood, and what I'll do is I'm going to change my lenses round, because this is going to become more kind of wider shot and more close-up orientated, because there's a lot of dead logs, there's a lot of dead trees. It's a wee bit darker and I might get a wider scene. I'm just getting some long distance shots of the pony trekker walking up through the trees there, and I'll share those images with you. But let me change the lens, and there's a nice composition here with these dead tree trunks, so there might be some interesting leaves and moss on them that could be quite nice. So I'll go and change my lens. Alright, so what I've found is this log, and there's a leaf sitting on top of the log. So what I'll do is I'll take 3 or 4 different shots of the logs and the compositions of the logs. But over on my far left I've also spotted a dead tree, but some of the branches that are coming out of it have got some pretty cool textures. So I'll go and have a look and see if there's any compositions there, and then I'll take some photos. What I'm also going to do here is I'm going to take some more shots of these logs, because there's a lot of moss on them and they could be quite vibrant. There's a lot of toadstools and mushrooms here, so they might be, if there are any that are in good condition, I'll take shots. If not, then I won't, because it'll just be a waste. But I've just spotted there's a cluster of mushrooms in that log, so I might take those shots and then I'll share those images with you. Right, so I'm going to take some handheld shots here, and as you can see there's absolutely hundreds of different textures in this old tree. But I was taking back there, I'd mentioned I'll take some shots of the moss on the logs, but as I walked round there was hundreds of little tiny mushrooms, so I've taken quite a lot of shots around the fungi, wee mushroom fungi that were there. So hopefully they've turned out. So I'm using handheld, so I've got my shutter speed up to 500th of a second. I'm just about to take a shot. There's some really nice textures here. So I'm just going to zoom in. I'm just going to test that. I'll change, that's nice. I'm going to change my timer to single. I'm just going to reduce my ISO to 100 because that was a bit bright. I'll zoom in again, because there's some really nice textures there. It's absolutely cracking. And then even here, there's some really nice textures there. I'm just going to tilt my camera and see if I can use the rotten wood as leading lines, because this is really nice. And I'm also shooting at f2.8 because I don't want everything in detail. I want just what's close to me to be in detail, and then the rest and the backdrop can be blown out. So again, there's some really nice swirls here, and they're turning out, they can be really, really nice patterns. Let me just check this, because there's a wee bit of moss sitting there. So some of these may or may not turn out. I'm just testing to see how it looks. Because the other thing I'm doing is I'm keeping the camera close down, and that's a nice composition there. So if I zoom into that, right. Alright, so what I'll do is I'll take a couple of more shots and then I'll share those images with you. Right, so I've been walking along the path. There's a fallen tree, but the fallen tree is just pointing straight out over the river, and then the trees. So what I've done is I've set up my composition where the tree's coming from the bottom left and flowing right out of the viewer. I'm focusing halfway in. I've got f8, an 80th of a second, and I've got ISO 100. I'll share that image with you. I'm just now going to follow the path round. Alright, so what I'll do is I'll finish the video here. Hopefully I can make a video out of this. Hopefully it turns out, and hopefully some of the images have been quite nice, even although it's been really challenging with the light. If you like it, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please do, because you know it's free. And if you press the bell notification, that'll let you know the next time I post a video. So thanks very much for watching, and here's to the next video.